Yo people, today on Expats in the Making, I'm going to take you to see some monasteries. Specifically, we're going about an hour outside of Belgrade up to a place called Fruška Gora, which is technically a mountain, but it's really just a large hill in a very flat area called Vojvodina. Vojvodina is kind of the north area of Serbia, and back from the time when all of this area was kind of conquered and reconquered, taken back and forth between the Ottomans and the Austro-Hungarians, Vojvodina, being in the north, is known for Austro-Hungarian Empire and architecture. Because of those constant wars going on in this area, the monasteries in the countryside are known for their fortifications. And this is kind of true all across Serbia, that you see these big fortified monasteries. So behind me, you see the beautiful red gate of Krusedol Monastery. And this red gate is part of the wall that surrounds the entire compound. As we go in, you're gonna see another possible fortified building that's really like the living quarters. And then inside of that is the actual monastery. Today we're gonna visit 4 monasteries out here. They're 4 of my favorite monasteries that are really close to Belgrade. And one of the reasons I've chosen these 4 is you'll see some very different things in them. This first one, Krusedol Monastery, it kind of feels like it was never really destroyed or torn down, taken any real damage. So it's been around for so long so that the incense is soaked into the walls. It's the type of place that I really wish when we came in you could smell it. But some of the next ones we go to are clearly very modern, and I think it's because they were destroyed either by wars or by modern things like earthquakes or something, I'm not totally sure. And so in rebuilding, there's the chance to build them just beautifully and brand new. All of that said, let's go in Krusedol Monastery and I'll show you around a little bit. As we head inside, it's important to note, if you visit any religious sites in Serbia, you definitely want to wear long pants and make sure you cover your shoulders. In the big religious sites in the city, like St. Sava's Temple, it's touristy enough that you can probably get away if you don't. It's just not respectful, but out in these monasteries, you very well might be turned away from coming in. Oh man, like I was saying, I wish you could smell this place. You can probably see how the walls are really darkened, and a lot of it is up high from the incense just carrying up into the ceiling and just baking into the walls over centuries. It really changes the experience. It makes it feel really deep, like it has a different energy than outside. And as we walk around, you can see the common theme in Serbian Orthodox churches, that as you enter, you are surrounded by the historical fathers of the church. And then up high on the walls is like more biblical scenes and holier scenes, and of course, Christ in the middle of the cupola. While the people in these monasteries may not speak great English, everyone I've met is super kind and just wants to chat, so make sure you stop and chat with people. Less than 10 minutes driving away and we run into our second monastery, Grgeteg Monastery. I was telling you, this area of Fruška Gora has over 30 monasteries on this little mountain. So it just means they're so dense, it's like you can't stumble without running into one. And I'll point out as we're heading in, there's actually a system of trails that goes all over the mountain, so it's not that far to walk from one to the next. It's actually much further to drive, because you have to kind of go around the arms of the mountain, whereas if you take the trails, you just go directly from one to the next. I haven't really made the time to hike the trails, but maybe I'll go sometime soon. So let's go check out Grgeteg Monastery, and I'll tell you a bit of the history as we head in. One of the things I love about this monastery is as you come in, there are these portraits on the left of the 4 gospel writers and Jesus. Here the first one is Matthew. And right here is Mark. And then the portrait of Jesus right in the middle. And Luke. And here's John. This is one of the places where you could enter the trail system. So right here you see the sign for Fruška Gora National Park. And then over here, this is a map of the trails. Well, Krusedol Monastery is a place for monks, so all the people staying there are men. Grgeteg Monastery is actually a nunnery. You can also get the sense coming in that there's all of this massive open arable land. So it used to be a rather wealthy monastery because it was like the nuns would tend all of this land and they had vineyards, and I'm sure grew all kinds of produce and other things as well. This entrance is especially beautiful in the summer because this trellis surrounding Mother Mary as you come in is covered with all of these beautiful flowers hanging down. It's really awesome. And as we enter, you can see that this place used to be a wealthy monastery. It's like brand new and everything is fresh. I love the way the art and the paint look in this place. It seems to me like this monastery doesn't really have like a cupola with Christ as the creator, but instead we have this beautiful mural of Christ in heaven surrounded by the saints. I love the theme of this wall. It seems like so many of the Bible stories depicted here have this theme of Christ healing and teaching. So here we see Christ raising the Roman centurion's daughter from the dead. There's another painting of Christ raising Lazarus and healing various people and teaching the children. It's really, really cool and it feels pretty unique. I love this painting here of the Archangel Michael with his flaming sword. And this monastery just feels so different than Krusedol, where Krusedol is like old and it has this feeling of the incense baked into the walls. This one is like bright and summery and things are new. About 20 minutes driving away from Grgeteg Monastery, or maybe only a couple kilometers on foot if you take the trails. You run into the old and new Hopovo monasteries, the last two that I want to take you to today. Honestly, I don't know why they're the old and new monasteries. Both of them are very old, like sometime before the year 1500. And if I remember right, I think both of them were destroyed at different points in their history and rebuilt. We'll go to the old monastery first. It has some of my favorite artwork. It's really beautiful. And you enter the walls driving coming in, which is a little different. Most of them you're gonna walk inside the walls. So let's head out and do the Staro Hopovo or Old Hopovo Monastery, and then we'll come back and do this one right behind me, the New Hopovo or Novo Hopovo Monastery. One of the things I love about Staro Hopovo is it's just so cute and small compared to these other monasteries. I really love this bright blue color scheme and the painting of Christ in the cupola. I'm glad to recognize now the icon of resurrection. It's very cool that you can see Christ raising up all of the Old Testament figures and bringing them up from Hades. I don't think I've ever seen a mural like this. It's like Christ is on the cross, but his blood is seeping down into the earth, and we see the skull and crossbones below. I'm not sure what it represents, but it's very interesting. And it's interesting that in the cobbles, we see things growing up through the cobbles. I've just never seen features like this in art before. And then one of the Romans is sainted. It's very interesting. Also interesting to me, the double-headed eagle feels more like a representation of the state than something that belongs in the church. And I've seen some things like this in churches that are in the middle of town, but I think this is the only place I've seen such a prominent figure of statehood in the middle of a monastery. So sad. I've been here several times and I haven't seen it closed until today. Well, I got a bonus for you. I'm gonna go up and show you if I had the time, and I mean when I have the time, to walk the trails and go between these monasteries. There's a place on the top of the mountain that I would kind of set up camp, and I would head out from there every day, and you could come back to a base camp. Let's head up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So right here at the top of the little mountain Fruška Gora on the Novi Sad side, which is like the side that's away from Belgrade, the second biggest city in Serbia is Novi Sad, and it's really close by here. On that side of Fruška Gora, by this sign, there's this whole access to the trail network. You can hike down to all of these places. There's also a little campground, so you can stay up here and set up camp. And here's the reason I would recommend you come here. To find this area, you can search for this little bar and cafe, Gorski Smesko. It's super cool. It's a great little bohemian spot to hang out. I think in the summer, sometimes they have like movies planned on a big sheet that they hang between the trees. They don't have that much in the way of food, but they do have great beer and amazing kombucha. If you're interested in more cool stuff, I got some here on the end screen. Ciao, ciao.